The call came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in March 2019. I remember because I was reviewing quarterly reports for my marketing firm when Aiden's name flashed on my screen. My younger brother never called this late unless something was wrong. Welcome back, family. If you haven't already, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. With that, let's continue today's story. Kira, I need your help, his voice cracked through the phone. They're threatening to kick me out of school. I'm 3 credits away from graduating with my MBA, and they want $32,000 by Friday or they're dropping me. The desperation in his voice hit me like a physical blow. Aiden had always been the golden child, star athlete in high school, full scholarship to undergrad, now pursuing his master's at a prestigious business school. Our parents had died in a car accident when he was 16, and I'd essentially raised him while building my career from nothing. What happened to your student aid? I asked, already reaching for my laptop. They cut my funding after I had to repeat that statistics course last semester. My credits shot from some medical bills and no bank will touch me. Kira, I've worked too hard to fail now. I just need someone to co-sign so I can get a private loan to finish. I stared at my bank account balance, the result of 15 years of grinding, saving, and sacrificing. $32,000 would drain my emergency fund, but Aiden was family. He was my responsibility. Send me the paperwork, I heard myself saying. We'll figure this out. The relief in his voice should have made me feel good. Instead, something cold settled in my stomach. But family is family, right? I had no idea I'd just signed my own financial death warrant. The loan documents arrived the next morning and the numbers made my head spin. Aiden, this isn't just $32,000, I said when he answered my call. With interest and fees, we're looking at nearly $50,000 total. And the monthly payments start at $800. I know, he said quickly. But Kira, think about it, I'll have my MBA in 4 months. Starting salary for my program graduates averages $90,000. I'll pay this off in 2 years max. I should have listened to the voice in my head screaming warnings. Instead, I remembered 13-year-old Aiden crying at our parents' funeral, asking if I was going to leave him too. The signing appointment was scheduled for Thursday at First National Bank. I took time off work, dressed professionally, and met Aiden in the marble lobby. He looked sharp in his navy suit, every inch the successful graduate student he was about to become. Miss Sterling, the loan officer Mr. Peterson shook my hand firmly. Your brother speaks very highly of you. It's wonderful to see families supporting each other. As we went through the paperwork, I noticed Aiden fidgeting with his phone, barely reading the documents he was signing. When I asked questions about the terms, he kept saying, Kira knows business better than me. Whatever she thinks is best. The weight of responsibility felt crushing. Here was my baby brother about to achieve everything our parents had dreamed of, and I was his only lifeline. The payments will be automatically drafted from your account as the primary borrower, Peterson explained to Aiden, but Miss Sterling as co-signer, you're equally responsible if he defaults. Aiden looked me straight in the eye. You'll never have to worry about that. I promise. I signed my name, sealing both our fates. 4 months later, I sat in the sweltering gymnasium watching Aiden walk across the stage to receive his MBA. Pride swelled in my chest as his name echoed through the speakers. Aiden Deshawn Sterling, magna cum laude, Master of Business Administration. Our extended family had driven in from 3 states to witness this moment. Aunt Dorothy, who'd helped raise us, dabbed her eyes with tissues. Cousin Jamal whistled so loud the people in front of us turned around and glared. After the ceremony, Aiden found me in the crowd, his cap crooked and his grin infectious. We did it, sis, he shouted, lifting me in a bear hug. I couldn't have done this without you. I'm going to make you so proud. At the celebration dinner, Aiden regaled everyone with stories about his job prospects. 3 companies are interested, he announced, raising his champagne glass. One in Atlanta's already talking about $110,000 starting salary. Can you believe it? I felt the knot in my stomach loosen for the first time in months. The loan payments would start in September, but if Aiden landed a job paying that much, we'd have no problems. When do you hear back from them? I asked, cutting into my steak. Should be within the next couple weeks. They're just doing final background checks and references. Something flickered across his face so quickly I almost missed it. Later, I'd replay this moment 1,000 times, wondering how I missed the signs. But that night, surrounded by family celebrating Aiden's achievement, I chose to believe in the future he was painting. I chose to trust that my sacrifice had been worth it. The first loan payment was due in exactly 93 days. I started a countdown calendar on my phone, marking off each day until Aiden would take over the payments and I could finally breathe easy. If only I'd known he was already planning his escape. September 15, 2019. The day my world started crumbling. I was in my office reviewing a client proposal when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Automatic payment failed, insufficient funds in linked account. My heart stopped. The loan payment was supposed to come from Aiden's checking account. I called him immediately. "Hey sis, what's up?" His voice was casual, almost cheerful. "Aiden, the loan payment bounced. What's going on with your account?" Silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally he sighed. "Look, those job offers didn't pan out like I expected. The market's tougher than I thought. I'm still interviewing, but what? You've been graduated for 4 months. Where's the job you were so confident about?" "Kira, I'm trying, okay? These things take time. Can you just cover this month? Once I get hired." "Cover this month?" My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "Aiden, we agreed. You were supposed to handle the payments once you graduated." I know. Look, I'm working part-time at a consulting firm. It doesn't pay much, but it's something. I just need a little more time." Part-time at a consulting firm. After earning an MBA magna cum laude. None of this made sense. "How much are you making part-time?" I pressed. Another pause. It's temporary. Just until something better comes along." I ended up transferring $800 from my business account to cover the payment. As I watched my balance drop, a sick feeling settled in my stomach. This wasn't supposed to be my responsibility anymore. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Aiden's evasive answers, the way he'd deflected every direct question. When had my brother become someone I couldn't trust? I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. The job market was competitive. Maybe he really was just having a rough patch. But deep down, a voice whispered what I wasn't ready to admit. I'd been played. October brought 3 more bounced payments and 3 more emergency transfers from my account. By November, I was $3,200 poorer and my patience was evaporating. I drove to Aiden's apartment unannounced on a Thursday afternoon, expecting to find him home job hunting. Instead, I found his neighbor, Mrs. Freddie, watering plants in the hallway. "Oh, you looking for Aiden?" she asked with a friendly smile. "He moved out last week. Nice young man, always paid his rent on time." My blood turned to ice. "Moved out? Where did he go?" "Oh, he got that big job. Said he was relocating for work. Seemed very excited about it." Big job. Relocating. And he hadn't told his own sister. I called him from my car, hands shaking as I dialed. It went straight to voicemail. I tried 5 more times. Nothing. That evening I started my investigation. His social media accounts had been deactivated. His email bounced back. The part-time consulting firm he'd mentioned? I called every consulting company in a 50-mile radius. None had heard of Aiden Sterling. Panic set in. I contacted his university's alumni services, claiming to be his sister trying to plan a surprise party. The woman was helpful but revealed something that made my world tilt. "Mr. Sterling? Oh yes, lovely young man. He was so excited about that position in Denver with Mountain Peak Financial. Said it was his dream job. He requested his transcripts be sent there for their records just last month." Denver. He'd gotten a job in Denver and hadn't said a word. I spent the next 3 hours online, searching for any trace of my brother. Finally, I found it. A LinkedIn profile for someone who looked exactly like Aiden but with a different name. Marcel Davis. Same face. Same MBA from the same university. Same graduation year. But according to this profile, Marcel Davis had just started as a senior financial analyst at Mountain Peak Financial in Denver, Colorado. My brother had changed his name and disappeared, leaving me holding a $50,000 bag. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. I sat in my car outside his old apartment, crying until my eyes burned. Family is supposed to protect each other. Instead, mine had destroyed me. I didn't sleep for 3 days after discovering Aiden's deception. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face at graduation, heard his promises, felt the weight of his lies crushing my chest. The December loan payment was due and my brother, or Marcel or whatever he was calling himself now, was nowhere to be found. I had two choices: let my credit get destroyed or keep paying for his betrayal. I chose to fight. My first call was to Mountain Peak Financial. I practiced my speech during the drive to work, rehearsing how I'd explain the situation without sounding like a crazy person. "Hi, I'm trying to reach one of your employees, Marcel Davis. He's my brother and we have a family emergency. I'm sorry, but I can't provide personal contact information for employees. I can take a message if you'd like. Could you at least confirm he works there? I know he just started as a senior financial analyst." Pause. "Ma'am, I've been in HR here for 8 years. We don't have anyone named Marcel Davis in our analyst program." Another lie. Another dead end. I hired a private investigator named Janet Pierce, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who specialized in tracking down people who'd skipped out on financial obligations. "Your brother's smart," she admitted after reviewing my file. "Changing his name legally, moving states, creating a false identity. This isn't amateur hour. But everyone makes mistakes. We'll find him." While Janet worked her contacts, I dove into my own research. I discovered that Aiden had been planning this for months. Bank records showed he'd been moving money into accounts I'd never heard of. Credit reports revealed he'd been applying for apartments under different names. The most damaging revelation came from his former roommate, Devin, who reluctantly agreed to meet me for coffee. "Look, Kira, I didn't want to get involved," Devin said, stirring sugar into his latte. "But Aiden, he talked about this. About how he was going to reset his life after graduation. He said you'd understand eventually." "Understand what exactly?" "That family is just genetics and smart people don't let genetics hold them back." I stared at him, feeling something die inside my chest. "He said that about me?" Devin nodded miserably. "He said you had money and it wasn't really hurting you to help him get started. That you'd get over it." The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. January 2020 brought both hope and devastation. Janet Pierce called with an update that made my hands shake. "I found him," she said without preamble. "He's in Phoenix now, working under the name Aiden Delano. Different middle name, same first name, probably easier to remember. He's got a job at Southwest Financial Group making $87,000 a year." Relief and rage warred in my chest. "Can we contact him?" "I already tried. He hung up when I mentioned your name. But here's the interesting part, he's been working there since October. That means he's been employed and earning good money while you've been covering his loan payments. For months. He'd been employed for 4 months while I drained my savings." My lawyer, Patricia Hendricks, reviewed the case with grim determination. "Legally, this is complicated," she admitted. "He hasn't technically violated the loan agreement since you're the co-signer. But the identity fraud and intentional deception could be criminal. What are my options? We can sue for fraud, file a complaint with the Attorney General's office, and I'll contact his employer. Most companies don't appreciate employees who commit financial fraud against family members." The letter to Southwest Financial Group was brutal and efficient. Patricia detailed Aiden's deception, the false identity, and his abandonment of financial responsibilities. She included copies of all documentation proving the fraud. 3 days later, my phone rang. "Kira." The voice was familiar but strained. "It's Aiden. We need to talk." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Oh, now you want to talk? After stealing $50,000 and disappearing?" "I didn't steal anything. You signed that paperwork willingly." The casual dismissal of his betrayal ignited something white-hot inside me. "I signed it because you lied to me. Because you promised you'd pay it back. Because I thought you were my brother. I am your brother. Look, can we meet somewhere neutral? I can explain everything." "Explain what?" "How you changed your name to avoid your responsibilities. How you've been employed for months while I've been paying your bills." Silence stretched between us. When he spoke again, his voice had turned cold. "Fine. If you want to play it this way, go ahead. But remember, you're the one who chose to sign those papers. Nobody forced you." He hung up, leaving me staring at my phone in disbelief. The brother I'd raised was gone. In his place was a stranger. February brought the meeting I'd been dreading and craving in equal measure. Aiden, I refused to call him by his assumed names, agreed to fly back and meet me at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory, he'd insisted, as if I were the enemy. I arrived 30 minutes early, choosing a corner table where I could see the entrance. My hands shook as I ordered tea I wouldn't drink, reviewing the questions I'd written down, the accusations I'd practiced. When he walked through the door, I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, grown a beard, and carried himself differently, straighter, more confident. Success suited him. Made me sick. Kira. He slid into the seat across from me, not meeting my eyes. Aiden. I kept my voice level, professional. Thank you for coming. Look, I know you're upset. Upset. The word exploded from me louder than I intended. Other patrons turned to stare. I lowered my voice to a whisper. You stole $50,000 from me and disappeared. Upset doesn't begin to cover it. I didn't steal anything. You made an investment in my future. That investment paid off. I'm successful now. Isn't that what you wanted? His casual arrogance was breathtaking. What I wanted was for you to pay back the loan you promised to pay back. What I wanted was basic honesty from my brother. Half-sister, he corrected quietly. The words hit me like a slap. What did you just say? We're half-siblings, Kira. Same mother, different fathers. You've always acted like you owned me because you helped raise me, but I don't owe you my entire life. I stared at him, speechless. We'd never discussed our fathers. Mine had died when I was young and Aiden's had never been in the picture. But we'd always been brother and sister, full stop. That's what this is about. Because we don't share the same father, you think that absolves you of basic human decency. It absolves me of being your pet project. You got to play the savior sister and I got my education. Now we're even. Even. I laughed, a harsh sound that made him flinch. Aiden, I've paid $6,000 of your loan so far. I've had to dip into my business emergency fund. You've damaged my credit and my finances while you've been building your new life. Then stop paying it. Let your credit take the hit. You'll recover. The callousness in his voice broke something inside me. You want me to stop paying? I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Fine. But understand what that means. Aiden looked up at me with something like boredom. It means you'll have to rebuild your credit. You're successful, Kira. You'll be fine. No, Aiden. It means I'm going nuclear. His expression shifted, uncertainty creeping in. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. Patricia Hendricks' contact information. I'm talking about fraud charges. Identity theft charges. I'm talking about contacting every employer you've ever had under every name you've used. I'm talking about making sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. You wouldn't. But his voice wavered. Try me. You want to abandon your responsibilities? Fine. But I'm not going down quietly. I leaned forward, my voice dropping to a whisper. I know about Marcel Davis. I know about Aiden Delano. I know about Southwest Financial Group and Mountain Peak Financial and every lie you've told. You think changing your name erases what you've done. His face had gone pale beneath his new beard. Kira, be reasonable. I was reasonable when I co-signed your loan. I was reasonable when I covered your first missed payment. I was reasonable when I gave you the benefit of the doubt for months. My voice grew stronger with each word. But you just called me your half-sister, like that diminishes what we meant to each other. You just told me to destroy my credit to cover for your selfishness. So no, Aiden, I'm done being reasonable. Other customers were openly staring now, but I didn't care. This man had stolen my trust, my money, and my peace of mind. He'd weaponized my love against me. What do you want? He asked quietly. I want you to take responsibility. I want you to contact the loan company today and set up payments from your account. I want you to reimburse me for every penny I've paid on your behalf. And I want you to understand that if you disappear again, I will hunt you down and make your life hell. He stared at me for a long moment. And if I do that, you'll leave me alone. If you do that, I'll consider not pressing charges. He nodded slowly. Give me 24 hours. As he walked away, I realized I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Power. 24 hours came and went with no word from Aiden. 48 hours. 72. On the fourth day, I made good on my promise. Patricia filed fraud charges with the district attorney's office. I contacted the Better Business Bureau, the state attorney general, and every financial regulatory body I could find. But the most satisfying call was to Southwest Financial Group's ethics hotline. I need to report an employee who committed financial fraud against a family member, I told the intake specialist. His name is Aiden Delano, but he's also used the names Marcel Davis and Aiden Sterling. He's currently working as a financial analyst, and I have documentation of his fraudulent activities. The woman's voice became notably more serious. Ma'am, financial fraud is a serious allegation, especially for someone in our industry. Can you provide documentation? I have bank records, loan documents, and a private investigator's report proving he changed his identity to avoid financial obligations. How quickly can someone review this? We'll begin an investigation immediately. Employees in financial services are held to the highest ethical standards. 3 days later, Janet Pierce called with an update that made me smile for the first time in weeks. Your brother's been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation, she reported. Apparently, they take a dim view of identity fraud in the financial sector. Who would have thought? But the real breakthrough came that afternoon. My phone rang and Aiden's name appeared on the screen. You got me fired. His voice was tight with anger. No, Aiden. You got yourself fired when you decided to commit fraud. I just made sure the right people knew about it. This is insane, Kira. You're destroying my career over money. I'm holding you accountable for your choices. There's a difference. Fine. What do you want? I'll pay the damn loan. His capitulation should have felt like victory, but instead I felt hollow. It's too late for just paying the loan. You've cost me months of stress, thousands of dollars, and any trust one had in family. This isn't about money anymore, Aiden. This is about consequences. What consequences? You got what you wanted, I'll take over the payments. The consequences are that your actions have repercussions. Your employer knows who you really are. Future employers will too. You can't just disappear and start over when things get inconvenient. The line went quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. I'll call the loan company today, he finally said. Good. And Aiden? Don't ever contact me again unless it's to apologize. March brought the call I'd been waiting for. Wells Fargo Student Loans confirmed that Aiden Sterling, his legal name, had contacted them and arranged to take over all future payments on the loan. He's also authorized us to send you a check for $6,400, the representative informed me. That represents all the payments you made on his behalf, plus interest and fees. You should receive it within 7 business days. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by exhaustion. 7 months of fighting, 7 months of stress and sleepless nights finally over. But victory felt hollow. That evening, I sat in my home office staring at the framed photo on my desk. Aiden and me at his high school graduation, his arm around my shoulders, both of us grinning at the camera. He'd been 17, still young enough to believe in heroes and happy endings. I'd been 32, convinced that love and sacrifice could overcome any obstacle. We'd both been naive. I took the photo down and put it in a drawer. Some relationships don't survive betrayal no matter how much history they share. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I'm sorry. 2 words. No explanation, no acknowledgement of the damage he'd caused, no understanding of what he'd destroyed. Just, I'm sorry, as if that could rebuild the trust he'd shattered. I deleted the message without responding. Aunt Dorothy called the next day, her voice thick with concern. I heard about what happened with Aiden. Baby, I'm so sorry. I can't believe he would do that to you. How did you find out? He called me yesterday crying like a little boy. Said he'd made a terrible mistake and lost his job. Asked if I thought you'd forgive him eventually. The image of Aiden crying to our elderly aunt while refusing to take responsibility with me ignited fresh anger. What did you tell him? I told him forgiveness isn't something you can demand or expect. Something you earn through change and time. And right now he's got a lot of earning to do. Aunt Dorothy's words stayed with me as I worked to rebuild my financial security and emotional equilibrium. Aiden had been right about one thing: I would recover. But I'd never forget the lesson he'd taught me about the difference between family and blood. 6 months later, my business was thriving more than ever. The stress of Aiden's betrayal had pushed me to work harder, take bigger risks, and trust my instincts in ways I never had before. Ironically, his attempt to destroy my financial stability had made me stronger. I was reviewing quarterly projections when my assistant knocked on my office door. There's a Aiden Sterling here to see you. Says he's your brother. Should I send him away? My heart jumped, then settled into a steady rhythm. Send him in. Aiden walked into my office looking like a shadow of his former self. His expensive suit had been replaced with khakis and a polo shirt. Dark circles ringed his eyes and he'd lost more weight. Thank you for seeing me, he said quietly, not presuming to sit without invitation. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. You have 5 minutes. I lost everything. His voice was barely above a whisper. The job, the apartment, the car. Words spread in the financial sector. Nobody will hire someone with fraud allegations. I felt a flicker of sympathy, then remembered the 7 months of hell he'd put me through. That's what happens when you burn bridges, Aiden. I know, and I deserve it. But Kira, I came to tell you something important. He looked directly at me for the first time since entering. You were right. About everything. I was selfish and cruel and I took advantage of the person who loved me most. I said nothing, waiting. I've been in therapy for 3 months. Had to get help to understand how I could hurt you like that. The therapist says I have issues with gratitude and entitlement. That I resented feeling indebted to you, so I convinced myself you owed me instead. So this is you apologizing? This is me trying to become the brother you deserved. I know I can't fix what I broke. I know you'll probably never trust me again. But I wanted you to know that I understand now what I destroyed. Tears were sliding down his face, and despite everything, part of me wanted to comfort him like I had when he was young and scared. Instead, I stayed seated behind my desk. Aiden, I appreciate that you're getting help. I hope you figure out how to be a better person. But you're right, you can't fix what you broke. He nodded, wiping his eyes. I understand. I miss my sister. Then you shouldn't have thrown her away for the sake of convenience. As Aiden left my office that day, I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, but a kind of peace. His apology couldn't erase the betrayal, but it confirmed what I'd learned over the past year. I was stronger than I'd ever imagined. Strong enough to survive being abandoned by the person I'd loved most. Strong enough to fight for myself when nobody else would. Strong enough to rebuild from the ashes of broken trust. That evening, I called Aunt Dorothy to update her on Aiden's visit. He looked broken, I told her. Part of me wanted to fix him like I always did when we were younger. But you didn't. No, I didn't. Because I finally understand that you can't save people who don't want to be saved. And you can't love someone into being trustworthy. That's a hard lesson, baby. The hardest, but also the most important. 3 months later, I received a check in the mail. $500 with a note. First payment toward rebuilding trust. I know it's not enough, but it's a start. I deposited the check and filed the note away. Aiden was trying in his own small way to make amends. Whether that would be enough to rebuild our relationship someday remained to be seen. But I'd learned something crucial through this ordeal. My worth wasn't tied to other people's gratitude or love. I was complete on my own, successful on my own terms, and strong enough to enforce boundaries without guilt. The loan Aiden had taken out was finally paid off in full. My credit recovered. My business grew. And slowly, carefully, I began to trust again. Not blindly, but wisely. Some people enter your life as blessings. Others come as lessons. Aiden had been both, teaching me that real strength isn't about how much you can sacrifice for others, but about how well you can protect yourself when those sacrifices are weaponized against you. I'd survived my brother's betrayal, and in doing so, I'd discovered who I really was. Not just a sister, not just a caretaker, but a woman capable of standing alone and thriving. That was worth more than any loan could ever be. I'm still processing all of this. Was I being reasonable, or did I let my emotions get the best of me? I need some unbiased opinions here.